of secrecy. City's sirens wail. The bombs rain down. Day after day, the public wakes to find piles of rubble where once there were houses. In a little corner of Buckinghamshire, in a drafty makeshift hut, someone is writing down German bomber coordinates. The seas which surround her and on which she depends are a war zone. Bletchley Park in Buckinghamshire, a small, determined team is working intensely, reading German naval messages. The wolfpacks are sniffed out. Japan attacks America at Pearl Harbor and starts a bloody campaign in Asia. Earlier in the year, Germany has invaded Russia and, together with Italy, staged a rapid advance into Africa. This is truly a world. The Africa Corps make their last move. The Allies are waiting. Allied leaders turn their attention to the invasion of occupied Europe. The German defenses on the French coast are impermeable. There is only one way to break through: surprise. The Allies scatter lies in the path of the enemy. The invasion will happen not on the beaches of Normandy, but at Calais. Codebreakers confirm the lies have been swallowed. Mathematicians and engineers are developing the world's first electronic computer. They are deciphering messages faster than ever before. At the 11th hour, they report, Hitler believes the Allies will land at Calais. The invasion begins. Allied forces land on the beaches of Normandy. They strike out into France and fight their way to Berlin. In Europe.
Today is Victory in Europe Day.
Britain celebrates in a very British fashion. In Buckinghamshire, offices are closed down, papers burned, machines dismantled. The group of people that no one knows about or has even heard of quietly disperses, unnamed, uncelebrated. But they have won their own war, the Code War. This is Bletchley Park. It happened here.
Good morning, guys. The weather in the UK can be typically unpredictable, so we had plans, then plans have kind of been washed away. We have constant drizzle, rain, etc., and possibly a slight storm moving through. So we thought we'd come back to somewhere we first visited ever, for the first time ever, back in January, and that is on our doorstep. This is Bletchley Park. It's home of the Codebreakers. It's what our town within our city of Milton Keynes, Bletchley, this is what we're famous for, the Codebreakers. It's where the Second World War was won. So we're going to go around, have a look again, and just try and stay out the rain and enjoy the day. So come and join us. This is the manor house on Bletchley Park. It was more during the war, sort of senior offices. The actual work that took place, all the clever bits where the war was won, all happened in huts like these grey and green ones over there. That is where your likes of Alan Turing would have done his work and broken the codes. We'll be looking at those later, but let's just go and have a look within here. You can have an afternoon tea here, but this has got some bits where it tells people about the stories, their lives here at Bletchley Park.
Don't talk about it. It's not a nice subject at all. No, meals were a bit of a problem. They were all right at the Abbey, reasonably all right. But, you know, you need to be tempted when you're on night shift and, you know, tired out. And I think I existed on cornflakes. I still like cornflakes. I didn't know what else to eat. It wasn't very good at all. They didn't pander to us in that respect. I remember when quite a few Americans arrived, breakfast improved a bit because we always had marmalade or honey or something with bacon on the plate. You know, they put it all on the plate. And the Americans always liked something sweet, whatever they call them, pancakes. And they got them, so we got them. They didn't come up very often, I don't think.
And yet, ladies and gentlemen, our command of the sea is unimpaired. And the defeat of the Graf's Bay is one of the finest naval actions in all our history.
I remember one sad occasion. A girl was sitting, typing away, you know, in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden she burst out crying. And she typed the name of her fiancé's regiment, and then underneath she typed heavy losses. And she just couldn't go on with it.
We're currently standing in an empty ballroom, which probably didn't really see, after its time, its concept, its build by Sir Herbert Leon. I of course went to Leon School in Bletchley. He was synonymous with Leon School, then it became Knowles School, and the school that I went to, Leon Comprehensive, is now the Sir Herbert Leon Academy. But this place, as I said, it probably would never have seen its delights as a ballroom because it was sold to those of the Captain Ridley shooting party. Basically there's a pub in Bletchley, Wetherspoons, named by that. They come down here looking for a place where they could set up the code breakers, and the rest is history. So this was probably commandeered by the War Office.
Dear Mother, I haven't time to write much now, but I thought you would like to hear again this week how I'm getting on. Well, I think I shall like Bletchley very well. It is not nearly so rigidly military as I had expected, and there is an immense variety of recreational activities, so that...
I've said before, but I'll certainly say it again, these staircases, the panelling, all reminds me of the Natural History Museum, the way it's all let out. It's a stunning place. Here we go. This was Sir Herbert Leon, synonymous with Bletchley more so than Milton Keynes. And I said it was his school that I went to, Leon Comprehensive. He was the original founder of this place. I was just saying to Rach back there, the significance of this place. Now, as I said, I went to Leon Comprehensive, which is now known as Sir Herbert Leon Academy. You would have thought, and this surprised me, that growing up, I never knew anything about Bletchley Park. I know of its existence since I was probably late on, maybe early in my teens, etc. But going to school with all this history, everything about us, we were never taught anything about Bletchley Park, the code breakers, Sir Herbert Leon, and yet you went to a school named after him. It was just weird. The significance of something like that, really can't comprehend. We're now at the back where the old stable block is. This is where you'll find some of your cars, etc. Not a very well trodden area, but this is an old gatehouse. I don't suppose it's been seen by anyone in a long time. This is a secret entrance by the back of the cemetery. I suppose someone would have stood on sentry on guard here. They would have come along, and this is where top secret deliveries would have taken place. As you can see, Rachel's covering up because it's absolutely chucking it down. very ornate clock tower there. Beautiful old car. There is 2 of these laying abandoned behind a derelict, I suppose you could say it's half a manor house out Cambridge way. At some point I'm going to do an urbex on, explore it and see these and what remains of them. Don't know what sort of price that would bring nowadays. There you have your old fire pump and a very old ambulance sitting next to that. Here we have another classic British motorcycle from back in the day. We don't make them like we used to. Actually, I don't think we make any at all nowadays. But that is your classic old Norton. Back in the day, it was Norton and BSA and Triumph that were predominant, not just here, but in the world. They were leaders in what they did. There's an old Packard sitting here. Ironically enough, the car that we have, Rachel's car, her modern Mariva, has those doors there. They're known as suicide doors. Back from your old, I guess your old gangster movies, that sort of thing. The door would open that way. The problem you get is if a car would come past and clip the doors, it would slam on you and snap your legs. Beautiful old beast. This is an Enigma machine. Now this isn't what Bletchley Park is all about. Everyone turns around and says the Enigma machine. These were a dispatch riders. Someone gives you messages throughout the war, etc. The idea of where we are now, we're in a room called The Bomb, and Bletchley Park, the idea was to crack the code that was within them, the messages that went backwards and forwards between the messengers, the troops on the front line, etc. For a long time I thought the Enigma machine, that was what everything was about, that was where victory was won. But the victory was won by decoding that and getting the information that was hidden within it. This is a model of the bomb which would have deciphered the codes hidden within the Enigma, yet all these wheels and cogs that spin round might only actually give you one letter. That's how complex it was, and how complex the mind of the likes of Alan Turing was. The geniuses that cracked the code and worked all this out.
It's like churning blooming butter on a hot day. Eventually though, the butter will come and the messages can be decoded and lots of lives will be saved. If not, probably someone's had it.
For anyone who's watching this vlog now and remembers that recently I'd done the vlog at Sywell, walking through the abandoned barrack area. If you look, the ceilings, the walls, the doors, it's identical to this. This is what I was saying, that was pretty much on the mark to be exactly what this was like. This is kind of where they would have probably grouped together and thrashed out ideas in the administration block. This is a duty officer's room. So basically someone who sort of oversees, overlooks what's going on. There had to be some form of command. The old flashlight there. And this would have been papers that were deciphered, codes, stuff for all the girls to work on later. Here we go again. I'll just walk through again like I did the other one. Gives those Urbex vibes. Certainly check out that vlog I done at Sywell. Certainly was a different world back then. The way this set out was very much like a crossword puzzle. These bits would blank out and letters would show with underneath them. Scrolls. Very basic, but very, very effective. Imperial typewriter.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Still have Altoids today, but we're still not as good either. Now inside the office of the most famous code breaker of all time, the man, the myth, the legend known as Alan Turing. This is where he would spend his time. Obviously it's been made up. This stuff wouldn't have been left about, a lot of it would have been destroyed after the war. But it's a mock-up of what it would have been like. This is his actual room, where he would have spent his time. He probably would have had a member of staff there, taking messages as well. There's not much more that can be said about the man himself. He obviously became a legend, but the crimes of the people of a different world afterwards, where he was persecuted.
A periscope and the outline of a submarine are spotted by Aurora Air Force patrol aircraft in the eastern Mediterranean. This sighting will be a vital turning point at Bletchley Park. For 10 devastating months, the code breakers have been working under a complete blackout of U-boat communications. The German Navy have introduced a new layer of encryption to their Enigma machine, the fourth rotor. HMS Batard and 3 other warships are on the scene by 10 a.m. and spend the next 10 hours hunting and depth charging the U-boat. Night has fallen and the submarine is finally forced to surface after sustaining serious damage. Chaotic scenes unfold as the enemy crew start to abandon ship. Knowing the U-boat could contain vital intelligence which can be utilized by the Allies, Teddy Fasten, the first lieutenant on Batard, and able seaman Colin Grazier immediately leap into the sea and swim through a mass of fleeing U-boat men towards the U-559. They are followed by Navy canteen assistant Tommy Brown. Cold and wet, Fasten and Grazier board the submarine, climbing down the conning tower into the blackness below. Time is running out for the men who are frantically collecting the priceless books and documents on the U-boat. Once the U-boat is gradually filling with water, the 2 men hand those Enigma treasures to Brown, who, after exploring the engine and control room, has positioned himself on the U-boat's conning tower. Abandon ship. Plunges into the dark waters to be rescued by the boat. At that moment, the ill-fated U-boat suddenly takes in an enormous amount of water and rapidly sinks, taking Tony Fassel and Colin Brazier with it. The bodies of Fassel and Brazier were never recovered. Almost certainly they drowned, trapped in the sinking submarine. Intelligence was never more closely linked to individual sacrifice, but the two men did not die in vain. Just 3 weeks later, the documents taken from the U-559, including the U-boat's short signal and weather signal code books, arrived at Bletchley Park. This pinch provided Bletchley Park code breakers with a priceless tool to help break the four-rotor enigma. Within an hour of breaking sharp the U-boat code, 15 U-boat positions were identified, and Bletchley Park was able to read naval traffic and crack enigma codes for the remainder of the war. This enabled the Admiralty to reroute the vital convoys to and from the USA, saving thousands of tons of shipping and countless lives.
Now dedicated to your carrier pigeons. Obviously the war was known for its animals, the dogs, the mules, the horses, but carrier pigeons carrying their little message was attached to probably their paw, foot, etc. would fly off, gathering intel and passing it on.
It's dawn, and thousands upon thousands of Allied soldiers are standing in landing craft, heading for the beaches of Normandy. Their officers have told them what they'll be facing, almost exact details of the defences they're attacking, and how they're going to beat them. But how do they know that? The answer lies a long way from the front line. But victory on that front line, in fact, victory in Europe, depends on it. In 1944, Germany dominated Europe. From Poland in the east to Brittany in the west, from Norway in the north to Greece in the south, the Third Reich ruled. To them, the continent was Festung Europa, Fortress Europe. But that fortress was becoming increasingly besieged, in the east by the Soviets and by the Western Allies in Italy. Along Europe's western coast, they had built a huge chain of defences and fortifications to keep the Allies out. The Atlantic Wall. The beaches of Normandy were no exception. The soldiers heading for those beaches would need every advantage they could get if they were going to land successfully, if they were even going to survive. And most important of all would be accurate intelligence, because knowledge is power. The problem was that the Germans knew that too. So every message that mattered was encrypted, to keep its content from falling into Allied hands. At first, German communications looked bulletproof, but there were chinks in the armour, and the Bletchley Park operation was specifically designed to get through them. Work at Bletchley Park had begun in 1938 with a handful of military and academic experts. But by 1944, thanks to people like Dilly Knox, John Tiltman, and later Max Newman and Bill Tutt, Bletchley Park had grown into the world's first intelligence factory. Almost 8,000 people were working here, 3/4 of them women. Codebreakers like Gwen Watkins, Mavis Beatty, as well as machine operators, analysts, and communications staff. Bletchley Park may not have broken all, or even most of the enemy's signals, but every message showed a crucial part of the jigsaw. Break the SS encryption and you can read their signals. Match that with radio direction finding and you can pinpoint their headquarters. Break a message that shows paratroopers being moved from Italy to Brittany and you can deduce that a new airborne unit is being formed in northern France. Break a message about leave from a unit in Russia having to be approved by Field Marshal von Rundstedt, and you can see that that unit is under his command, so it must be moving to the west. Now imagine that repeated thousands of times, with messages from the whole of Europe, all being examined, compared, and coordinated by Eric Jones's team in Hub 3, turning it into useful intelligence about the German order of battle. And you can see how, a year and a half before the invasion, Bletchley Park helped the Allies to create a detailed picture of Hitler's Fortress Europe. Sometimes the enemy even did the work for them. Hitler was keen to show off his defenses to his Eastern allies, so he invited the Japanese ambassador, General Oshima, to tour the Atlantic Wall. In November 1943, Oshima sent a report home with full details of German defenses. With US help, Bletchley Park read the whole thing. In fact, by 1944, the Allies knew the exact location of every one of the 58 divisions in Hitler's Western Command, almost as well as the Germans themselves. The greatest prize of all was the communications network of the German High Command. The messages between Germany's senior military commanders, Kesselring, von Rundstedt, Rommel, and the government in Berlin. In other words, a direct window into the minds of the German leadership. These messages, codenamed fish traffic, were protected with Lorenz machines, much more complex than Enigma. Enigma was good enough to disguise communications between ships or fighter squadrons. Lorenz had to hide the secrets of nations. Breaking into these high-level networks had tied up teams of Bletchley Park cryptanalysts, working painstakingly by hand. But help was on its way. That help came from those masters of electronic communication, the General Post Office, whose engineers turned Bill Tutt's ideas on automated statistical analysis into a working machine, the Heath Robinson. But it was a team run by the brilliant Tommy Flowers who led that first machine's evolution into Bletchley Park's most sophisticated and reliable tool yet, Colossus. Colossus was the forerunner of today's technological world. The world's first large-scale electronic digital computer designed to automate code breaking, at least partly. Colossus performed millions of logical operations electronically to reveal the settings used to encipher an intercepted message. It was an amazing achievement, the result of nearly 3 years' hard work and invention. Now, the Allies could not only read more and more messages that would once have been unbreakable, but they had access to some of the most valuable intelligence of the entire war, including direct communications between Hitler and his commander in the West, Field Marshal von Rundstedt. Bletchley Park had uncovered the scale of Hitler's megalomania, micromanagement, and paranoid distrust of his own commanders, allowing other branches of Allied intelligence to manipulate all of them, feeding the Germans the kind of intelligence they wanted to hear, which set the stage for one of the great deceptions of all time, Operation Fortitude. The plan was to reinforce the Germans' belief that the Allies would invade, not in Normandy, but in the Pas-de-Calais, And it succeeded. From fake radio traffic detected by German eavesdroppers to fake reports from fake spies passed on by German double agents, they were fed a diet of deception. And they ate it up. It all supported the Germans' belief that Calais was the target. The team at Bletchley Park was ordered to monitor and analyze enemy communications and discover where the deception was working and where it needed reinforcement. 10 days before the planned invasion, Japanese General Oshima reported a dinner with Hitler, where the Führer told him he was sure the invasion would be at Calais. With insights like these, Allied commanders could be more confident in their plans to invade Normandy. So, what did all this mean to the thousands of troops about to storm ashore in the biggest amphibious invasion in history? It meant that they knew what they were facing. The access that Bletchley Park gave to enemy communications meant that Allied commanders could predict how the Germans might react and plan to counter them. American General Omar Bradley moved the 82nd Airborne Division's initial landing point after Hut 3 revealed that new German troops would be waiting at the original drop zone. Once the invasion began, the speed of Enigma decryption was astounding. Messages were being intercepted, decrypted, translated, and ready to send on to Allied commanders in as little as 2.5 hours. They were reading enemy reports of landing craft and paratroops almost as soon as the Germans themselves. But there were still gaps in what the Allies knew. And in any case, just knowing where the enemy was did not mean that they did not have to be fought. The combat was brutal. On D-Day alone, there were over 10,000 Allied and around 4,000 Axis casualties. But by the end of that day, about 156,000 men had landed in less than 24 hours. By the end of the 6th of June, they were leaving the beaches and forcing a way inland. They would be followed by SLUs, Special Liaison Units, in each of the headquarters, providing a live link to Bletchley Park for senior commanders. There would be hard fighting for months to come, all the way up to May of 1945, when Germany finally surrendered, bringing an end to 6 years of war in Europe. Between 1942 and VE Day, Bletchley Park had decoded around 5 million messages from Enigma, as well as other minor ciphers, and a volume of high-level cipher text equivalent to over 120 paperback novels. Bletchley Park's work played a part in practically everything the Allies knew about German forces in Normandy. The Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force, General Eisenhower, wrote that the codebreakers had saved thousands of British and American lives. We know now that without intelligence developed here at Bletchley Park, our world would look very different. But for the Allied soldiers, sailors and airmen waiting to go into action in the early hours of the 6th of June 1944, victory still hung in the balance. And although they knew nothing of Bletchley Park, the work done here would help to tip that balance in their favor.
anyway guys, that's going to do it for today's vlog. Hope it's been entertaining for you, informative. We've enjoyed it. It's the second time we've been. As I said, we are residents in Bletchley, so we have a half price, even less, to pay to get access to here, and we can come in as many times as we want within a year. You can too for the price of £25. £25.50 if you're outside the area. If you're local to Bletchley or Milton Keynes, you get like us the discounted price.
You just need to remember to bring something with your address
some sort of address on it, just to prove that you're credible for that. And yeah, with that, it's been enjoyable. It's got us out of the rain for sure. It was a last minute change of plans, but it was a good change of plans. Had a relaxed walk around somewhere that's got a heartwarming, but some of the stories are so tragic that are within it. And with that guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you in the movies. I think we're back to the zoo next week. Haven't been there for a while. We love the animals, you love the animals. We'll see you in the movies. Bye for now.